Mr Speaker, Queensland is Australia's most decentralised state, and this week's budget reflects that. Almost two-thirds of our capital works spending will be in the regions, and our health investment in new hospitals and new beds, almost $10 billion, is also heavily focused on our regions. Statewide, the new hospitals and hospital expansion projects will deliver 2,509 extra beds. Our regions outside the Greater Brisbane area are getting a major share of that, with Coomera 404 beds, Robina Hospital 114 beds, Toowoomba 118 beds, Bundaberg 121 beds, Hervey Bay 35 beds, Mackay Hospital expansion 128 beds, Townsville Hospital 143 beds, and Cairns Hospital 96 beds. That's more than 1,100 beds in those regional hospital projects, and it doesn't end there. This budget also includes $943.5 million to replace rural and remote health facilities, and also includes good staff accommodation, Mr Speaker, beginning with replacement hospitals in Moranbah, Bamagar, Normanton and Tara, and health facilities in Pomperau and Cow Bay. Mr Speaker, regional and rural ambulance services will also be prioritised, thanks to an 11% increase in the budget for the QAS. The budget also ensures access to medical treatment for rural and remote areas, with funding commitments for the Flying Doctor Service. And don't they do an incredible job, Mr Speaker? $334 million for a new 10-year contract and $60 million towards a new regional aeromedical hub. And of course, our $1.6 billion boost for mental health, alcohol and other drug services will be hugely important to regional Queensland as well, including another 4 mental health co-responder services for the Darling Downs, Mackay, Wide Bay and Sunshine Coast. Mr Speaker, this budget will expand and improve regional Queensland health services of every kind, and I look forward to the opposition leader's budget reply today. Will he support regional Queensland? Mr Speaker.
Order. Order, members. Members to my left.
That's right. I'll take that interjection. Hey, hang on. I take the minister's interjection. I take the minister's
Member
interjection.
for Kawana will cease his interjections.
He left regional Queensland, Mr Speaker. He left it. He left it completely. That's right. That's right. We don't forget. The people know. Mr Speaker.
Premier, you have the call.
So noisy for a Thursday, and we haven't even done the budget yet, Mr Speaker. Budget reply. Mr Speaker, budgets aren't just about money, they are about our people. And that's why this week I'm particularly proud of our investment in education. A record $16.5 billion budget, our 8th consecutive record education budget, including $220 million for new classrooms across our state, $650 million for upgrades and $263 million for universal access to kindergarten, and almost $2 billion investment in education infrastructure in this year alone, supporting 4,200 jobs. The headline numbers are impressive, but what's even more impressive is the impact this will have on the lives of children right across Queensland. The member for Southern Downs will recall I've spent some time in Stanthorpe over the past week. Mr Speaker, thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We thoroughly enjoyed it. We thoroughly enjoyed it. Thank you. Mr Speaker, whilst I was there, I was able to go with the Minister for Education to meet with the boys and girls at Stanthorpe State School. And they just loved Winton. They wrote me a beautiful book asking Winton a whole type of questions. It was lovely. Stanthorpe State School has benefited from... Oh, we also met your new little baby too. Yeah, beautiful. Congratulations. Yeah, very lucky, very lucky. Stanthorpe State School has benefited from our record investment in education, with 108 new solar panels and 10 air conditioning units delivered by our government in the last couple of years. Mr Speaker, we were lucky enough to be given a tour of the school by student leaders Isabella, Madeline, Cooper and Riley. Weren't they delighted, Minister? One thing stood out as they took me from class to class, how proud they were of their school. And also too, Mr Speaker, I want every student in Queensland to be proud of their school. This week's state budget delivers $20 million for upgrades to playgrounds and tuck shops, Mr Speaker. And I know how much we have our volunteers working in our tuck shops, and mums and dads and volunteers and grandmas and grandpas, and we just want to make sure that those upgrades are being felt across the state as well. And I know they will be very much welcomed by the local schools.
Yeah.
And $5 million for painting work at some of our smaller schools in the state. A new pie warmer at your tuck shop and a lick of paint on your classroom. It's investments like these that make a difference to schools. And, Mr Speaker, I'm proud to say that our budget also delivers for Queensland children with a disability. I know the Minister will say more about this, but we'll invest more than $80 million over 2 years to ensure no student is left behind as we transition to a new education model for students. Mr Speaker, this state budget will deliver almost 500 new frontline teaching positions and will deliver dedicated support for an extra 30,000 students per year who have a disability. This is a significant reform and one I'm proud of. Mr Speaker, the beauty and diversity of our state is one of Queensland's greatest assets. That's why I'm proud that this week's state budget delivers the largest single investment in national parks in the history of our great state. And conservation groups have indicated that it may be the largest in Australia's history. Our record $262.5 million investment in expanding our network of protected estates will secure new parks for people to enjoy, safeguard the jobs of 17,000 workers who rely on our national parks for their employment, and most importantly, it will ensure that the rainforest, reefs, parks and coastline with the highest ecological values are protected for future generations. I want to thank the Minister for Environment. Great work in bringing all of this forward, Mr Speaker, because a Labor government delivers on the environment, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, as a Labor government, we are proud of our record. We've delivered nation-leading container refund scheme, creating more than 7,000 jobs. We've introduced legislation to ban single-use plastics. We've increased our protected areas by 1.2 million hectares. We've committed to double the number of Indigenous land and sea rangers caring for our environment. We're investing a record $340 million into the Great Barrier Reef. And we've delivered the landmark Australia First $500 million Land Restoration Fund to help farmers, landholders and traditional owners put in place sustainable land use practices. Mr Speaker, this week's record funding for environment builds on our successes. It will enable us to buy more land for conservation, improve visitor infrastructure and grow our nature-based tourism industry, protect our endangered species, grow our threatened koala populations here in the southeast and continue the Cape York Tenure Resolution program to hand back land to traditional owners. This is our great Queensland lifestyle, is the envy of the world. It's what makes Queenslanders smile a little wider and stand a little taller. Mr Speaker, like the national health issue, we know housing affordability is an issue impacting communities across the country. That's why we're delivering our $2.9 billion social and affordable housing strategy to deliver 7,400 social and affordable homes. I'm advised that across Queensland there are 152 projects approved and contracted to deliver 1,006 new units of accommodation at various stages of construction. Work is already set to begin on 118 new social and affordable homes in Redcliffe and Chermside later this year. And as well as a record investment in health to deliver the Queensland Hospital and Health Plan for 2,509 beds, we also announced $200 million last week to unlock land supply in our fastest growing areas. And I know the Deputy Premier is very much at the front of looking and identifying those areas where we can unlock that land. Mr Speaker, I can announce today that my government is providing a $16 million immediate response package to help put a roof over the head of families doing it tough, living in insecure and unsafe situations, and help people maintain tenancies. And I thank the Minister for Housing for being a very strong advocate, especially in this area for those who are most disadvantaged. This package includes increased funding for the rental security subsidy of $7 million. This $7 million will be used to assist around 700 families to sustain tenancies by increasing the available subsidy from $5,000 over 6 months for up to $10,000 for 12 months. It also includes an extra $6 million for specialist homelessness services to broker additional temporary emergency accommodation. There is also $3 million for extra support workers in funded specialist homelessness services to assist families to stay in their current home or secure a new tenancy. Mr Speaker, this is above the commitments we've already made, and the Housing Minister will have more to say about this soon. And finally, Mr Speaker, today is Olympic Day, the day to celebrate what the Olympics can do for Australia. It is also the start of Olympic Month, when all Australians are encouraged to have a go at an Olympic sport. That's something we are backing with the $100 million Go for Gold fund announced in this week's budget, where we will be improving sports facilities at schools across the state, encouraging greater participation in sport. As we Queenslanders know only too well, sports unites us. It promotes a healthier lifestyle. And although it's not an Olympic sport, we also wish the best to the Mighty Maroons against New South Wales on Sunday, even though it's in Perth.
I call the Deputy Premier.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Palaszczuk government has a plan to make Queensland the region's clean energy